Welcome to Conversations with Kay. I'm Kay Ryder. And every week I talk with Vermonters who are leaders in the fields of government, healthcare, education, the arts, and community life. My guest is Vicki Smith, who's the Executive Director of the King Street Center in Burlington, Vermont. And a special welcome to our listeners on 93.3 FM, which is WBTV-LP. Welcome to. Nice to have you back.
It's great to be back.
How long, where actually is the King Street Center located on King Street?
We are located between Pine Street and St. Paul Street, 1 block south of Main Street in Burlington. We call it the downtown core.
There you go.
Yes.
And the building stands right out.
Oh, it does. It's a magnificent building.
Yep, great, great. How long have you been the Executive Director at King Street, Vicki?
I have been the director since 2007.
10 years, congratulations.
Oh, you're right. I haven't thought about it, but yes, 10 years.
They should give you a cake or something. Absolutely. Did you work at King Street before you became the Executive Director?
I did. I was the program director for a number of years, and then I actually left King Street for a few years to be with my family, and then was so fortunate to be chosen for this role. Great.
Now, the doors at King Street, as far as I can see from what I read, the doors are open all hours of the day and night. And you have many programs. And now, approximately how many children and families do you serve at King Street?
We see on any given day about 130 different children throughout the day. Might be a little higher, might be a little lower depending on the season. And we say there's about 500 families involved with our center.
Wow.
Families.
That's a big impact in the community.
Yeah, we think so.
Yeah. You have programs for young folks of all ages. And let's start with the early ed program, the toddlers and preschool children. Are you an official Head Start program?
We are. We refer to it as a Head Start Collaborative Partner Program. So all of the families that are enrolled in our toddler and preschool programs are also enrolled in Head Start programs. Yes.
What does that mean? Does it mean that they get specific services or what?
They do. They, through our Head Start affiliation, we refer to it as wraparound services. So not only are they receiving a full day, full year toddler or preschool program, they're also receiving early Head Start services or Head Start services. And that means they're working with an early care advocate. They're able to make sure that they are involved with a dental home, a medical home, family services, mental health services if needed. There's a whole approach toward that family work that if it was just King Street Center, we really would not be able to provide all of those additional services and home visits that our affiliation with Head Start allows us to move ahead with. It's really been a fantastic partnership that we're incredibly proud of. Our preschool's been a Head Start partner since 2000, so it's been a long-term track record of good work together.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Now, why is early education so important for young children and their families?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you cannot pick up a newspaper, a magazine, or turn on the TV without hearing about brain research that speaks to the necessity of all of the good work that needs to be done on the early front to support young children with a good infusion of care and nurture. So the earlier the better. And our program we know to be high quality. It's a 5-star qualified Vermont program. This means that we have met rigorous standards of care. Our teachers meet high quality educational standards as well. And so you front load it with children. You give them the very best. Of course, we believe you carry that through all their lives, but you don't start late. You start early with an infusion of good care and nurture, and it will pay off. So the earlier the better. We start at 18 months. We wish we could start in infancy, but we're not there yet.
Right. Now, it's sort of like health care itself, in the sense that the best dollar ever spent is when someone is in the tank.
Yes.
Have a healthy baby to start a healthy life is an extremely important advantage. And, you know, what you can do with a young child, this brain, these kids are just learning like mad. And you know, it's always fun to watch children play at this age, because their play is learning.
That's right. We always say that is their work. Their work is play at King Street. We are a play-based program. We're not laser focused on ABCs, the colors, the the 1, 2, 3s, but they are learning tremendously through our play-based curriculum, which again has been viewed as being really top tier, and we're very, very proud of that.
Again, I want to welcome our listeners on 93.3 FM. I'm talking with Vicki Smith, who's the Executive Director of the King Street Center in Burlington, Vermont. You do help the little folks prepare for kindergarten, though, don't you?
We do. That is, of course, our thrust is to be ready for kindergarten, feeling confident and successful to take that giant leap forward and have their families to feel that school will be a place of success for their children, and that they, as parents, can engage with that school community.
As my grandchildren used to say when they were very little, sharing.
Right, to be a good friend, to be at a place where they feel confident, and just all of those attributes of being really happy.
Yeah,
eager
having
student.
having a feeling that, you know, I can fit in.
Yes.
I walk into this school and I can fit in. I'm okay.
Right. Eager learners, a sense of wonder, pride.
Right. Yes. And you know, I want to go back to the dental care and the health care, because and food. I mean,
yes.
You cannot learn if you have a toothache. If you have something wrong with you physically, if you're hungry, and if your parents are fighting.
Right.
All these things filter in, and little kids just soak it up like sponges. So it's very important to work with all these things with the families, isn't it?
It's very true. We provide breakfast, lunch, and a nourishing snack every day for the children who attend our programs. So we're, again, really focused on that whole person approach to our early education profile.
Right, and it's fun for the children to sit and eat with one another.
Absolutely. It's a family-style approach. So if you walk in during breakfast or lunch or snack, you'll see the children at their different tables, and I always marvel at it. The most wonderful conversations are happening. It really does bring you back to that family table approach. I think what it was like for me more as a child, less so as an adult sometimes. It's
right.
Really quite lovely and calming, and some days are a little more rambunctious than others. But it.
Do you have any food fights?
No, I'm happy to say no. It really is quite engaging with the kids.
Okay, now you have a very successful, I'm sure, after-school program, and this is for grades 1 through 5.
Kindergarten through 5th grade.
Okay,
yes.
All right. What is special about your after-school program?
Well, I think what makes it so special is it's a very diverse program. It's very fun. It integrates a lot of community partnerships, which make it so enticing for the kids, such as the opportunity to go to Shelburne Farms, the Flynn Center, Burlington City Arts, just to name a few. We've had enduring partnerships with other community organizations, which has really allowed us to keep it so highly engaging, and we really pride ourselves on these partnerships. This year in particular, we have really done a lot of change up in the context of our after-school program. We moved under the leadership of our associate director and our after-school director to a new approach in our after-school program. We moved to what I'm going to call block scheduling, so that children can really engage in a much deeper sense of learning. So children are now signing up for 6 or 8 week sessions of interest areas, such as Girls Rock Vermont, or which is a community organization, another partnership where girls have been learning and experimenting with different instruments like guitar and different string instruments. It was highly successful. A lot of cooking for 6 weeks, kitchen science. It just really is allowing the kids to sign up for a host of different choices, but engage in anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks of these enrichment courses. And it's just been very, very successful, both on the staff front, but most especially for the kids. So it's, I'm really pleased to see where after-school programming at King Street is going.
Do you give them help with their homework?
We do. That, no matter what changes we make in after school, we're not dropping off on the academic thrust in the context of our school-age programs. And as well, under the leadership of our education director, we continue to have a vast army, I'm going to call them, of tutors. So every child is matched one-on-one with a tutor that they meet with once, sometimes more often during the week. It's really quite marvelous.
Another aspect of your after-school program is the children, the young folks, are in a very safe environment, aren't they?
They are, absolutely. Number one, they feel safe, they must be safe. That's number one across the board.
Yeah, and that's terrifically important for for little kids, isn't it?
Oh, it is. They have to feel safe, I think, before any other messaging can come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and in regards to safety and being there, sharing, taking turns, all these things.
Right.
Do they? That's terrifically important for them to feel good.
Right,
yeah.
I agree.
Now, do you find that the young folks are eager to get to the King Street Center after school?
Absolutely. King Street is a place where children and families are not mandated to be there. It's a choice for them to be there. So it's a very joyful place, I would say, very uplifting. I think that's why we as a staff find so much vigor in our work as well.
Have you ever done a study on how many people just keep coming?
No, I think anecdotally we look at that a lot, and we've been involved in different research projects along the way. We've just started a Facebook group for alumni, former staff and former participants, so we're trying to gain some traction in that way, and there is some discussion about a long-term study. I will say beyond a doubt that we do have long-term participants at King Street Center having the ability to start young and have a full community of learners together at the same time has been, I believe, a real positive attribute of our work at King Street. We made a strategic decision to have teens at our center at the same time as our young ones. And that was a strategic decision we made back, frankly, in the 90s. We were one of the first youth serving agencies to have a teen program. We call it Teen Futures during the after school hours.
That's great. That's
and
great.
That has been really beneficial in our work.
Again, for our radio listeners, I'm talking with Vicki Smith, who is the Executive Director of the King Street Center in Burlington, Vermont. And we're talking about their programs that they have for young folks and families. You have a very busy program for the teenagers. You just lit upon it a little bit. But I'm interested, you know, when my kids were teenagers, sometimes they'd look at little kids and observe them. Now, and kind of smile. They were kind of like, you know, at the grocery store, I kind of like see little kids, you know, wandering around eating, you know, animal crackers and stuff. Did you, have you found that that's part of it? People can kind of look at each other and, well, I'm going to grow up. Those teenagers, are they sort of thinking sometimes, well, I'm kind of showing these kids what to do? Do they have that aspect?
I think we have two aspects. One is the teens like their own space, and we respect that, and they have their own space in our new building. And I'm so happy that they do. But the other piece to being a community at King Street Center is so much cross-pollination. And there is a lot of opportunity for the teens to engage with younger, certainly their younger siblings at the center, and to be helpful in that way to their families. But secondly, to also be mentors. And they ask for it, they model it, but we also expect that. So when we see perhaps a youth being a little out of the range of expectations, we will ask them and remind them that they are role models in our community. I like to say we're a house too. We are that family place. So we do have all of that together, and again, we really do appreciate that whole picture at the center.
What do the teens do while they're there?
They have such an incredible array of opportunity and activity smorgasbord in front of them that I often get jealous and think, gosh, it's really terrific. Some of the activities are quite deliberate and structured, such as Job Club. This week they're building drones.
Let's talk about Job Club a little bit here.
Yes.
I'm all for that, because I think that teenagers need to think about the future. What am I going to do?
Yes.
I hope I will graduate from high school. I have a goal. Now then, what do I do after that? So a Job Club, what does that do for them?
Job Club has been a long-term activity as part of our Teen Futures program. It technically starts in the winter months as a ramp up to our King Street Lemonade program in the summer. So there's a very defined curriculum for students who are interested in working on King Street Lemonade through the summer months. They go through a number of weeks learning all different aspects about what it takes to be a good employee, if you will. But it also does start percolating those ideas about who am I? What might I be in the future? And what are some of those great opportunities in front of me? What will it take? So there's a tremendous amount of support and conversation. We have guests come in to talk with them. One of the most recent guests was Jess Handrick from the Flynn Center. She's the new education director. She spoke with them not only about being a performer, but what also goes on at the Flynn Center in the back of the house. That was a very exciting conversation, and also a tour.
Yeah, budgets. And how do we keep our staff? How do we stay in business?
Yes, and how do they? What does saving money mean? What is financial education? That, of course, is a big one. The other thing that makes our Job Club unique is that we get started a bit early. This is a middle school program, not necessarily high school. The students involved with this program age up to high school and then take on a leadership role, but these are students as young as sixth graders. So again, this idea that King Street likes to get started on the early side.
Where is your lemonade stand in the summer?
We are located on Church Street Marketplace, right in front of Lunig's restaurant. It's a prime spot. But we're very fortunate.
Can't find a better spot than that.
We agree.
That's great. That's great.
It is
great.
great.
Well, that's really good. And you run it all summer.
We do.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Where would you call for information about the King Street Center? And I know you have a great website.
We do. We have a newly rebuilt website, and our phone number is 802-862-6736. Okay.
And your website, how do you go to that?
kingstreetcenter.org.
Okay. Do you have activities on weekends, Vicki?
I'm so glad you asked that question. We just this year have been engaged in a project with Leadership Champlain to really determine what would be a great use of weekend programming. And just last week we finished focus groups. We engaged teens in a focus group, community partners, and parents in a listening project to hear what are some of their high needs, their ideas, and their hopes and desires around weekend programming at King Street Center, because currently we are not open. We have done a number of ad hoc programs, and certainly different partners have used our building on the weekend, but we feel very clearly that we need expanded programming to be more responsive to our community, and we are eager to receive the report from Leadership Champlain, and we're continuing to listen to our families, to our kids, and to others out in the community to open up those doors. And we anticipate that this fall we will start slowly but build with weekend programming and perhaps some things, additional programs in the evening as well. I'm really excited about it.
That sounds great. I'm talking with Vicki Smith, who's the Executive Director of the King Street Center in Burlington, Vermont. I would think that weekend programs would be particularly useful in the summer. I know you have some summer programs.
We are very busy in the summer. Our hours expand, particularly with our after-school program. It becomes a full-day camp program. Our early ed program continues. We don't stop or reduce hours, and our teen programs become a host of different structured programs through the summer, in addition to running the King Street Lemonade stand.
Right, now I know you have a lot of volunteers at the King Street Center, but some of them are in a special category. They're called mentors, right?
Yes.
And you have some longtime mentors at King Street. Sarah Soul is one of my friends who's done that. And some of this mentorship goes on for years, doesn't it?
It really does. Gabriella Tufo-Strauss is our Director of Community Outreach, and also runs the Junior Senior Buddy program. And you are so right in saying that a number of these mentor pairs, currently we have 63 matches. Again, I'm awestruck by the length of commitment between these mentors and their mentees. Some of them are years long. They're really deeply connected, and they are relationships that can really mean the difference between a young person going this way in a negative direction or staying the course in a way that will move them forward to a real positive path on to post-secondary education.
And your mentors are actually they really want to do it. Do you have a special program for them to learn how to be a mentor, or they just come in and they have their own skills?
Well, I think it's all of it. Certainly, once they're go through the very thorough screening process to be a mentor, and believe me, it is thorough with all the necessary screenings. They are there's training, and there is a mentor advisory group. There's also mentoring gatherings where they can have different topics that
you can share information, what works, what doesn't, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And there's an ongoing opportunity for them to get together that Gabriella facilitates.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, a lot of new immigrants are in the city of Burlington.
Yes.
Do you have translators?
We work with interpreters frequently, could do so more often, I believe. A number of us at the center just completed a series of classes, a language access class, to become even more informed about the efforts we need to make to be more sensitive to how we communicate with newcomer families for whom English is not their first language. I would say that we really need to improve in that area, how we're communicating with families. We know flyers are really not working. Messages on bulletin boards. Face-to-face is always best, but with a family who does not speak English clearly as their first language, the use of interpreters is a must. And then when you work with an interpreter, understanding how to best work with that interpreter is also clear. So I was so happy to have the opportunity to participate in that class. It was really an eye-opening for me, quite frankly. So we have work to do on that front.
Well, we certainly do, and I think it's not just language. English is a second language. The kids can pick up English pretty fast.
Yes.
The customs and the food.
Yes.
And how people do things.
Yes.
And even, you know, do you shake hands or don't you shake hands?
Absolutely.
Things
Eye
like
contact.
that. Things that we take for granted in our very open society. Other countries, people come in with different expectations and
Yes.
different ways of doing things. And you have to deal with this. And in order to thrive in this country, they need to know what we do. Mm-hmm. They need to know it. Whether they want to do it or not, that's their own decision. But they need to know how we do things. We need to know how they do things.
Right.
So, and you do a lot of work with the families.
Yes, yes. I always say we don't enroll children and youth, we enroll families. Absolutely.
And most of your families and children come from Burlington.
Yes, primarily.
And a neighborhood around the King Street Center.
Right. Most are from, I would say, the downtown core and South End. But our early ed program is really throughout the entire city.
Interesting, interesting. Now, how are you funded, briefly?
We are funded primarily privately. We're not state and federally funded.
That was a decision that Roxanne Leopold made, my friend Roxanne and her
Yes.
board. And I think that was a wise one. It gives you a lot more the ability to do what you want to. Yeah.
I would agree.
Right. Now we have not too much time left here, Vicki. King Street says that it has a belief in children. What do you mean by that?
Well, I always say that King Street is a place that is strength perspective. And by that we mean that we are very focused on the strengths that families and children have within them. And that's the place to start. So we believe in kids. We believe in their promise, their potential, their passions, and we seek to elevate that. Not what's wrong with them, but what matters to them, and what can happen in the way that can promote the positive direction where they can go. So what's right with them? And I think that's what we mean by believing in them. If we lose hope, then why do we open our doors? It's a very hopeful place. That's why that building was built. It's a very caring, compassionate community, and we are that place, and so are they.
Well, thank you for keeping up that mission that you have. I believe in children too. Thank you for coming, Vicki Smith, Executive Director of the King Street Center in Burlington, Vermont, and thank you for joining us on Conversations with Kay.